Well,
No, not. I mean, you know, your particular chore. Everybody that went into the Peace Corps had a particular thing that a specialty that they did.
yeah.
Some people were farmers, and some people were, agriculture people or technical people.
Yeah.
And you went in for.
Well, okay, let me very briefly preface it with a quick cap of background. As you know, I grew up in an urban environment, Somerville, which was declared by some of the sociology textbooks as the most densely populated urban area in the United States.
Yes.
And then, remained in that scene even as I went through college for a liberal arts education, and went on briefly to continue my newspaper reporting career, which I began in college, all of which I felt, qualified me supremely for the task with which I was thereafter entrusted by the Peace Corps magistrates. I went to Columbia as a rural community development volunteer, and the title of my job is as general as it sounds. I went and lived in a small town way up in the Andes, and I was the only gringo in town, the only Yankee in town, and it was a little town as out of our old Wild West. It even had a saloon with swinging doors that I had the great pleasure on a certain fiesta day of riding my horse into and around the table and back out again.
And you made your 11 cents a day, which made you 10 cents a day richer than any of your neighbors.
Something like that. Something like that. No, I mean there was no gross outlay in that meager salary, but it wasn't hard to live on by any means.
Yeah.
I mean, I was able to get meals and whatever else, sociable brew.
Had your own
coffee.
housing?
Huh?
Had your own housing or lived with?
I lived in two different towns. I spent my first 9 months, 8 or 9 months in a larger town. I had asked for a rural scene. We were given a choice of urban or rural, as just before arriving there. And I chose initially.
Straight down Prospect Street.
Don't worry about this. This will all be edited out.
Okay, and it runs all the way up to Main Street. Meets Main Street just up past this. Straight across Mass Ave. Okay, walk straight across Mass Ave and take your first right, and that's Bishop Allen Drive.
Oh, yeah.
And it goes both ways, but only for a block this way. Where are you going on it?
116. It's supposed to be.
Did you all hear that? Bishop Allen goes both ways, but he's been dead a long time now.
Well, I don't know which. What's the business?
It's a language place. When I said Central Square, it goes, oh, it's close. So I just essentially.
You go out the door, walk straight across,
Mass,
and it's that first street is Bishop Allen Drive.
Okay, thanks.
See you later, Linda.
Bye.
Where were we?
You were in Columbia.
Right. What was I doing there?
You made up your mind you wanted a rural
Right.
situation.
Okay. Yeah. Initially, I had sort of hedged that a bit and told them semi-rural. So I was in a pretty hot tropical town called Mariquita.
You knew Spanish before you went?
What I learned in the training program.
Program.
Yeah, they had a very good intensive program, which lasted 2 months. We did that out in L.A. in the throes of thick and orange smog. I remember.
Yeah.
It was
Land
something
of bad
else.
air.
I remember puking one day after running up and down bleachers for a half hour. With the air like that. Boy. Anyhow, it was a very good language program, and we went from there to Baja California. We went to Ensenada, and we went and lived with individually with different families and people in the barrios of Ensenada. The poor neighborhoods, in effect.
Yeah.
And spent, I think it was about 3 weeks there, and then returned briefly to L.A. for this nice little graduation ceremony they gave us, you know, at some hotel downtown LA. And then we hopped on a plane for San Juan. And from San Juan, after 2-3 days of, you know, usually you meet meetings and listening to this one and that one, we were sent off to a variety of destinations around Puerto Rico by ourselves for another 3 weeks or so. Boy, I remember those. I remember those times really fondly.
So where did you go in Puerto Rico besides San Juan?
I went to a town called Ciales,
Ciales?
which was, yeah.
I got relatives in Puerto Rico.
Have you? Where?
Ponce.
In Ponce. Are they Puerto Rican relatives? Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, they're Spanish relatives, but
Yeah.
they've lived in Puerto Rico for 40 years now.
Yeah. Ponce is a nice old town.
Yeah. And that in Arecibo.
Yeah,
A hotel in
Arecibo.
Arecibo and live in Ponce.
I've been there a couple times since.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the island. I really do. I like Puerto Rico a lot.
Every time I've gone there, the police have dragged me off the plane and searched me.
They have, really.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this, you know, see this clean cut bob here, you know. I had real long hair and big beard, you know, for years. I lived in Mexico looking like that.
Yeah. Oh, you can get away with it in Mexico.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, in Puerto Rico, yeah, except I had, let's see. No, not when I was not when I was...
Peace Corps, you didn't have
Pre-Peace
blonde
Corps, no.
No.
I looked...
Then you were traveling with the government then. And
Yeah.
Puerto Rico changed greatly.
Yeah.
Like in 67, 68,
Yeah.
Puerto Rico changed.
Let me mention in that, they weren't even putting up with a beard. I mean, I remember one of my friends, Bill Burns, he had a beard. He was a, you know, guitar plunking, folk singing, psychology major from, what town in New York? Geez, Syracuse maybe? Saratoga maybe, I don't know.
But they made him take it off.
Yeah, right. Well, they encouraged him to now, and Bill's, I think Bill's initial response, it probably wasn't just centered on the beard, but anyhow, he took his leave. He left kind of what I think was potentially a crazy sounding note. We had psychiatrists all over us, you know, when during that training program in L.A.
Mm-hmm.
Not just L.A. either. I mean, they were in the accompanying party down to Ensenada. They were with us on to San Juan, and they were
to see if you were psychologically fit to actually do this.
Yes, right. Yeah, or to see if we were going to go nuts, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there were a couple of breakdowns apparent in the course of our
I know a couple of
training
people that
program.
broke down, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got no interviews with them because that was a long time ago.
I remember there was one place, one of our little intensives where we left the compound where we were staying. Where we put up, by the way, was a motel in the Alhambra section of L.A. Do you know L.A.?
No, I stayed away from there religiously.
Yeah. Anyhow, we went to this converted monastery up facing Mount Baldy for, I think we were there for about 4 days. And what it was drawn out, intensive confrontation type workshops.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you gather for endless sessions, and the point was to get people to break down as I doped it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember the very first night of a long session there, I was attacked by 2-3 people who I think, I suspect now, I haven't thought about this in years, but I suspect they did it gratuitously. A couple of them even jumped on the wagon. I mean, gratuitous to the point of doing that expected thing in order to be of the appropriate psychological mold to the perceptions of the psychiatrist, who was our group facilitator. Oh, I remember him. He had beady eyes, he did.